Alright, so after about 5 months of this mod sitting on my desk ready to install in the car, I decided to do it this weekend, and of course it has to rain on me. I'm lucky enough to have a waterproof carport, so I've got a nice dry area and a dry car to work on, but still, this audio might not be too good for you guys, but I'm not putting anything in the way of it. I've waited 5 months to get this thing on, and everything just always got in the way. So today is the day we are installing a reverse camera on the Ute. So if you're like me, you have a canopy on the back, then you will definitely know that your rear vision mirror is just useless now. What I'm going to be doing is installing just a cheap, super cheap auto reverse camera. We're going to piss off the mirror. I'm not sure if that's illegal, we'll find that out later. But we're going to be getting rid of the mirror and installing the camera as a permanent rear view camera, I suppose. You're meant to hook them up via the reverse lights so that it only comes on when you put the car in reverse, but I want it on all the time just so that I can see all the time, because I can't see anything past the back of my car. Even though I've got side mirrors, I still can't see if there's a car right behind me, and you know, one day if there's ever a cop sitting behind me, I want to be able to see them. So this is what we're going to be playing with today. It's just a nano cam thing, little 5-inch screen. I was going to do one of the reverse mirrors where you just click over the front of it pretty much, but the problem with that is these visors come down too close to the mirror. I test fitted one and I would not be able to use these visors if I put one of those reverse mirrors on. So this is going to go, I got to figure out how to pull that off and stuff. I think it's just a screw there. And then we will be sticking this bad boy up here somewhere so that I can see what the hell I'm doing. Mad. Now this is the little camera they give you. Just got some connections and stuff on it. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to mount this thing yet. I might have to just mount it like, I don't know, up here somewhere, or that's going to be too annoying, maybe there. I don't know yet. I'll figure that out soon, but pretty much that's going to go in the back of the car. I want to be able to view the tow ball so that I can back up the trailers by myself and things, and it'll just make it tons easier if I know that's there. Another benefit to installing a reverse camera on the car is that when I'm in car parks and things and I reverse in, say there's a car behind me, I don't really want to put the tow ball through their number plate, so it's a bit hard. Usually I guess as far as I can, and then if I'm by myself I gotta jump out, have a look, oh crap, I gotta go back like another 500 mil, reverse back, whatever, otherwise someone has to help me. So now at least I'll be able to do everything myself from inside the car, and that's the plan. I just want to make it a lot easier and a lot safer to drive this car, and to know that I'm not going to reverse into something. So the kit seems to be pretty simple. Obviously you got a screen, you got the camera at the back. This is the cable that runs between it, so lucky it's just a single, like an RCA cable. I've wrapped it in a corrugated, like a protecting conduity sort of thing, just to protect it a bit. I feel like this cable is not going to really withstand too long in UV and mud and all that sort of stuff. So I've wrapped it up with something. Then we just got like a sticky mount that's going to stick it to the roof, and then a bunch of other like little power cables and stuff. But it seems pretty easy to install. All I'm going to do is run it up through the headliner, down the A-pillar here. I'm pretty sure there's a hole down that front side there where I ran the electric brakes. They can pop out there, and then it'll run underneath the car all the way, run with my Anderson plug cabling, you can see there, all the way along the chassis, all the way to the back of the car. So we'll find out when I pull everything apart how I'm going to go, but that's essentially the path we're going to take. Alright, so what I've done here is a little bench test kind of thing, just to see how it actually all works so that I know when I install it all. This cable here, this red one with the red plug on it, is the main power feed for the actual screen. So I looked at it and was like, wow, that's really small. How am I going to get that to an ignition source, as it says in the user manual? But what I've found is that that's just a hard active, and that this other power cable over here is like the remote cable that tells it all to turn on. So what I'm going to do is install this one to run off this light up here. So this is just a always on, just a hard active that we're going to tap into to provide power to the screen. Now you have to complete the whole circuit for it to actually work, and then this one here, when I plug that into the power, it actually turns the whole system on. So as I was saying, this is the remote wire. This is like on your subwoofer. It tells the subwoofer to turn on when the car is started. But what I'm going to have to do is run another cable from like the cigarette socket here or something all the way back to the rear of the car, because I don't have an ignition source back there to turn this on apart from my Anderson plug, which I don't really want to open back up because it's all waterproof and all that sort of stuff, and it's just a pain. So this one I'm just going to run a little figure 8, which is just basically the same sort of cable, just a little 2-wire. I'm going to run it in this channel with this this other cable here. We're going to run it all the way up, and then I'll tap it into like the cigarette lighter there, or maybe into the engine bay. I think I've got a fused switch wire, I believe I put in, but we'll figure that out later. So that's pretty much my game plan. So I have now sheathed a figure 8 inside that cable. It's basically just a 2-core power for 12 volt and stuff like that. It's run all the way through. That end over here where it's really short, I'm going to start that at the back. So I'm going to be following the cable route of the Anderson plug, which is that red one there you can see. The cameras, I'm thinking I'm going to sit it about here maybe, so the cabling will reach back to sort of that like little joint area you can see. That's where the next cable will start. It'll follow that all the way along in the sheath, go underneath the car, and then the bad thing about it is I wanted to just come straight up, but my problem is that the grommet is up on the wall here on the firewall, so I've got to come through the wheel arch, down there, up into the engine bay. You can see the cables just there, and then they go into a grommet just there. That will then allow me to come up and across to the screen. Now the one thing I'm a bit worried about is the length of this cable that connects the camera to the screen. It's a 6-meter cable, but I don't know, I feel like it might just reach, maybe not, and I really don't want to have to join it. That's why I'm starting the connector over here just as far back as I can possibly get it. So I'm not going to cable tie any of that until I'm 100% perfect. I'll get it all the way through, I'll run it all the way up, and crossing fingers that it just makes it and that it will work perfectly. So let's see how we go with it all. Alright, the toughest part is now done. We've got our cable up through the firewall, so you can see it. Well, it goes in there, it goes through a grommet, it comes around through that grommet. It's this one here, goes through that grommet over there, down there, comes out of here, and then it runs under along the bottom of the car, back up just here, and then it stops. It stops just about there. You can kind of see it here. So that's the cables there. And then I've pretty much just put as much room, much slack as I can up here. So this is the amount I've got. It's maybe 1.5 meters or so from that corner. That I'm thinking it actually will make it up. So by me pulling that right back as far as I could, I really gained that length at this end to go up to my screen. Now the rain has picked up a bit more, so I'm sorry if it's a bit loud at the moment, but we have got that completely in. So now it's time to go ahead and pull up all the A-pillar and stuff and get that cable up to where the screen is going to sit. So I'm going to finish the screen end first, get that all in position, and then I'll work on the tail end, and then the camera will be the last thing, because then I can sort of check it as I move it and make sure I get a perfect spot before I screw it and stick it down and all that. Alright, so what I've just found is I've taken the mirror off pretty simply. It's there's actually just a screw on the back side there. It's just a T20 torque bit, so that's really the star bit. I'm gonna leave this piece on here. I'm pretty sure that's stuck on, but you know, if I ever get in trouble for not having the mirror, then it's a simple fix just to put it back up, and it comes off pretty easily, so that should be good for us. And then all we're going to do is grab this little guy here. It's just got a 3M tape on the bottom of it. So that's our next step before I take all this liner off and down the A-pillar here, which is what we're going to run the cables through. And then I'll be able to just drop down into under there, and then get our connection all the way up, tap our power off this light here. I'll just put a join here, and we'll be golden. We'll be running. Rightio, the screen is now mounted with 3M tape that up. The cables are around up through there. There's actually factory little notches in that, which you can sort of see in the headliner up there. I did not put them in, so that's awesome. I've run it up through there. I've got, you can see the join there with the yellow one. That runs through the frame here, down, and it's going down the A-pillar here. So it runs all the way down that little black cable. I reckon that's a pretty neat install. All I gotta do is finish these, sorry, the red one off. This white one's in case you want like a front camera or something. So that is not going to be used right now. I just got to put the power onto that one, and then when we come down, I've cable tied it up all nicely under there, and I've got my remote cable here. So I cut off a lot more than I needed just in case, but I don't really care about wastage for that cable. That's going to run along, and I'm going to try and tap into the cigarette lighter. To get all this sort of stuff off, you kind of have to take all the side. You take this like rubber trim piece off. That pops off pretty easily with just the handles is all that's holding it in, and a couple of clips. And then yeah, it's pretty simple to do, so I'm pretty happy with how that all went in. I think so far it's going pretty smoothly. The hardest part I would have found is to get that cable underneath and up through the firewall, but apart from that, so far so good. So I'm going to finish off this end now, tidy it all up, and then we will start on the rear.
20 minutes later.
Rightio, so I've just been smashing this out absolutely, and I have completely finished the install pretty much. It's now time to test it all. So I'll give you a quick run through, and then we're going to find out if this baby actually works. So for the back half, we've got our camera here. It's not mounted up yet, it's just sitting here for now, because I will actually get someone else to help me put that up to make sure I get it in the exact spot I want it. You can see our join we've got here. We've got the power and the yellow RCA. So that will control the camera and make sure that all works. We've run it all the way along under the chassis, up into the engine bay, which runs up there and then goes through a grommet just there, which then comes out of the grommet in here and splits off. So the yellow cable runs up. I put the pillar and stuff back now. That runs up all the way across over to there. The join is up in the roof there. We've also done the hard active power here. So that's that one, and I've just tapped it into the light that goes in there. So that should work pretty well. I've just taped up the white one so it doesn't touch on anything in case. The actual screen and stuff is mounted up with the cabling going out behind, which you saw. Now we've got this white figure 8 here. That one just runs along behind everything and then comes up. Turns out to get to the cigarette lighter, you can just pop the cigarette lighter little trim piece out and it comes out pretty well, but I didn't have enough slack on the cable to do the join comfortably, so I pulled all this fascia off and stuff and got it out the top here, which isn't too bad. It's just 4 clips around the corners. That's my remote wire now, so I will tape that up and make that all pretty, but for now I just want to leave it like that to test. But that's joined on, and that is just about it. So it's ready to test out. So I guess this is the moment of truth. Let's see if this thing actually works, and if it doesn't, well, I'll be spewing, and if it does, well, I'll be cheering. Hey, happy days. Obviously the view isn't perfect yet because I haven't straightened it all up and it's just laying down, but we're working. So there's a few buttons on the back of it as well. Yeah, they just changed brightness and things. You guys can't really see it, but it's just changing different aspects and stuff. And that's about it. Cool. Alright, so that works. That's good. Well, happy days. Everything works. So I'm just going to go around, neaten everything up, put everything back together how it's supposed to be. And I'll try and get this camera mounted up now so that I can check it out. One thing I will mention, which you might have just seen on the screen, is that it's got like a blue tinge to it. So I guess that's just how it is. It's just a cheap camera, but I can't really do much about that. If you're looking for something better, then obviously spend a lot more money, but I think this was like $80, $90, something like that. So it's pretty cheap and it will get me out of trouble. Okay guys, so everything's buttoned up perfectly. We've cleaned up, so everything's packed away. We're ready to show you the final product. I've aligned it where I think I want it. I couldn't get the exact location that I would want it to get that perfect shot, which ideally it would be, you know, center of the number plate just underneath, so it was center of the toe ball and things like that. But what I ended up doing it was just offsetting it over here. So that's still pretty good. It's pointing towards the toe ball a little bit more, and also pointing down, so I can see when I'm reversing, but I can also see when there's traffic behind me. One thing I can't really help is there's a light up behind here that lights up my number plate and stuff. Now that's a super bright LED, so I'm having suspicion that at night time when I turn that on, it's just going to blind the camera, but you know, I can't do much about that. I've got a good LED strip up there and a crap camera, so it's all good. That should work fine, but everything is back together now. Everything is clipped up under there, making it like all nice and neat. So I'm going to show you guys quickly what the final product looks like, which I am pretty darn happy with. I think it looks pretty good and it should help me out a hell of a lot when I'm you know, just driving in general, but also backing up, all sorts of things like that. So this is our final view. You can see the tow ball just there, and that's my Anderson plug just there, but it gives you a pretty good representation, and it's, I guess it looks pretty clear. You can kind of see the blue tinge to it on here, like I was talking about before, but you know, again, cheap camera, so I reckon it's pretty good for what I need, and I can see everything that's going on, so that's all that matters. And obviously the way I wired it up and everything, so as I was talking about that remote wire before that we hooked up to the cigarette lighter, because that cigarette lighter is powered by the ignition key, when it's currently the ignition is on, so the camera is on. As soon as I turn that ignition off, the camera dies. So it's not draining your battery. You don't have to worry about, you know, having a flat battery. You don't have to worry about it staying on because I put it on that ignition source. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out. I think it should help me a hell of a lot when I'm trying to reverse up to trailers and just driving in general. I can actually see out the back of my car now, which is going to be good. I got the suggestion as well to put one out the front pointing down for some, you know, gnarly four-wheel drive tracks, so I can basically self-spot myself, which would be a good idea. And that camera, the screen is actually compatible for 2 different cameras. So in the future, once I put a bull bar and everything on, that might be an option to put a little camera out the front, but we'll see how that goes. There's not a lot of, you know, auto electrical know-how you have to be able to do this. It's pretty simple. It's just putting a couple of connectors on and just running wires pretty much. So as long as you've got the right gear, it's pretty straightforward. Well, that's it for today, guys. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed this video. This install was pretty quick and easy to do, so there's not a lot I could have filmed, and I tried to get it done for the most part and just give you guys an idea of actually how I went about doing it. Make sure you leave a comment if you think this camera footage was a lot better. So this is the new Canon EOS RP. It's a much better camera to what I was using previously, so let me know if you can tell any difference in quality. I'd really like to know. For now, guys, thank you for watching this video. We have a few decent mods and stuff coming up pretty soon, and I'm actually going to start cracking on the bull bar, because if you would have seen on my Instagram, we have a bull bar bracket now stored in the shed. So that is the next thing coming up, and we also have a trip coming up soon, hopefully in the near future. So fingers crossed we get some videos, and we get some videos out soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.